soulmates, twin flames, all that fun stuff. Now, this is probably gonna be a very long video. I have notes on my phone, and I'm spilling coffee on myself. Great. And yeah, I was inspired to do this from the lovely Kellyanne Maddox. Did a video, I will link hers down below, about her thoughts and feelings about soulmates, twin flames, and all that. And it got me thinking, do I have thoughts, feelings, twin flames, soulmates, all that stuff? And I thought maybe they'd be pretty simple, so I started writing stuff down. I just needed to like articulate, and I realized no, maybe I'm a bit confuddled. So I'm like exploring these concepts, I think, a bit more than I ever have before in this video. So as always, just my opinions. You can have other opinions. Feel free to put them in the comments down below. And anyway, let's get into it. So, I don't know, probably the first time I came in contact with thoughts like this was a while ago. Like, it's really not feeling so much that I've never had before, you know? Like, when I first heard of a concept of like a soulmate when I was really young, or like a one true partner romantic love that you would find, it made a lot of sense. It seemed very like fairy tale-esque to me, and I was kind of like, okay, maybe. But there's always something that rang very true about it. And honestly, when I think about reincarnation and old souls and this idea of reliving or living multiple lives with a certain person or a set of people, that rings extremely true to me for some reason. And I don't really know exactly why that is. And it's interesting where when I think about specific people in my life and certain friends of mine or weird things, there is very specifically, I've had in my head this concept of a friend who was very, very dear to me, and they felt very, very familiar. And I would have dreams about this person, but their face is always kind of fogged over. And I really didn't know who they were, but I felt like they were missing, and they felt very terse to me. They felt very like matter-of-fact, logical, in a good way for me to balance out in my more flittery, non-focusy ways. Like, I felt like this person was missing, and I almost was craving their advice in a lot of ways, especially through middle school and high school when there was a lot of tumultuous friend types, all that deal. And eventually I met a really great friend, someone who I consider one of my best friends. It was funny how quickly after getting to know her, like, we did not meet and it was like, you know, like, oh my god, this person. I remember meeting her and feeling very put off by her in a way. Like, I at the time was also going through a really hard relationship. Things were coming up, other friendships of mine were falling apart. It was a very tumultuous time for me emotionally, and I just had this sense like, this bitch is gonna call me out on shit. I was correct. But now she's been my best friend for literally so many years, and looking back on it, she just kind of felt like a really, really old friend that I hadn't seen in a very long time. And she's talked about this too, about how there's certain things where we just link up right. Like, it's like I just know how she thinks. I know what she needs in certain situations. Like, I just show up and do it. And there are definitely times where I don't necessarily even think that I've done that for friends before, but I know that's what she needs in that moment. Like, I'm just like, yeah, of course I need to drop everything in this moment because I can and help you with this thing, because I know that you just need me to be there. That's just what you need. Or I know when she needs me to back off and like not say things. Like, there's just certain things like that where, yeah, we've had some communication here and there, but it came a lot more naturally with her in this friendship. And I think she was the first time I ever experienced where I was like, I swear I have lived a life with you before. I swear that we have done this many a time as like partners in crime type of deal, trying to seek out things and meet up. And many a time we talk about, now she lives far away in Nashville and I live in Portland now, and we always talk about how we feel like our lives, or we hope that our lives reconnect us energetically wise. Like, the fates will come in and give her a job opportunity out here, or I also called to move somewhere else at some point, and that will be close together as friends again. Like, it makes sense. And she's one of the very few people that I can just chill and be with. Family as soulmates, family units. So my mother is very new agey, my sister's along the same thought lines, and my father has opinions, but he doesn't like to explore it all that much. But my mother has discussed many times where she feels our family unit has done this before. Feels that there is a grouping of things that she did, and she believes that family units And not necessarily by family unit, I don't mean like the people you were born into, but there's like a unit of people that you kind of get drawn to in life, and then you just kind of end up sticking together. And family units that are strong is because your individual souls have looked into and said, this is a good arrangement, we help each other and work well together. So whether that is you have like a friend group that you're like, I don't even know how the hell we found each other, but we all work well, or you do have a strong family tie bond that is a good support system for you. And so my mother thinks that we are some of those people, that we have kind of all decided, we've lived lives before, and we realize we work well together as a group. And she mentions this to me a million times. But she also feels that there are people missing currently from it for some reason. She's like, I have dreams a lot of times where there is a person, a figure, and I miss them. I haven't seen them in a long time. I don't think they're here. And maybe they won't be in this lifetime ever. Maybe in this lifetime I'm supposed to live without them, or maybe they just haven't arrived yet. Maybe it is one of me and my sister's significant other that needs to be added to the mix. Maybe it's one of our children. Whoever it is someone that she deeply misses and knows that it's a part of our unit possibly, but is very strongly connected to her. And I always thought that that was very interesting in a way to think about that, like, to think that, oh, we did all arrive in a sense, because I do get that feeling to some extent with my family. We've definitely had our ups, we've definitely had our downs, and there have been times where we had to choose to still be a family unit. We could have very much have chosen opposite, and I think we're stronger for that choice. We kind of had to fight for us to all stay together. But in that same respect, it's interesting upon meeting my really good friend from Nashville, how I have always felt in a lot of ways, yes, I know you people, but I don't know you people as well as I know others. And I really miss certain, there's a sense of longing, I guess, I've always gone through, where I am missing certain people. I feel like there's a reason I do feel like a loner or a lone wolf in a lot of ways. Is because, not necessarily because I just naturally am a loner, is because I'm missing my pack. I haven't found them in this lifetime yet, but I do have them, which is weird, right? It's not a missing of, I've never had that connection. I feel that feeling of I did have that connection. I just don't have it right now. And it's interesting because my family, I do feel like if past lives are a thing, then there is this energy of we've done this before. Maybe not in this configuration type of deal, this soulmate, but we've all been soulmates that have progressed multiple times. We've all interwoven in some way previously. But if we're thinking about time as a linear construct, even though I think it's way more wibbly wobbly than that, but just for, I don't know, ease sake with this, if I have lived many a lifetime, those previous lifetimes, I feel like I've lived with my current family unit, my mother, my father, my sister, maybe once or twice in a set of lives, right? Like it's happened. There is a familiarity there, but there's still a strangeness, this odd friction that just, and you know when you feel it, when there's a difference between when you meet up with somebody for the first time and you're just like, oh, we don't get along, we don't vibe, and we are never going to vibe, we are not the same people, and there's that friction, you know what I mean? Like there's no way that you could consult your differences. You're like, this is not gonna work. Like we just, that's with like romantic partners, friendships. Do we have to do that right now? Of course we do. Trimming trees and blows and stuff. That's just, gotta fight through the sound, people. This is, and then there's a different type of friction, a friction of just, of new, you know, where you meet someone and you don't quite know your communication styles yet. There's a spark of, oh, you interest me, you're fun, you're entertaining, whether it's with friends or romantic partners, what have you. There's that, we just gotta get to know each other a little bit better. I just gotta figure you out. You know, I just have to communicate a bit and know that, oh yeah, okay, you don't like it when I do that. The reason that was off is because I just did a little something that got under your skin, and you just said something a little weird that just didn't make sense to me. And now you know that, oh, if I say it this way, I will understand better. I know now not to do that weird thing. Because it's insignificant to me, but it bothers you a bit. And suddenly then things seem to click into place. Like you almost just have to, when you find a puzzle piece and that is the spot it fits in, you just gotta turn it to actually get it to work. So there's that type of friction too. And I feel like that friction is very evident within my family circle. There feels, even though we've lived a lifetime together, I'm 27, my sister is 22, 23. Like, we're currently in this weird feeling of things not being quite fitting. Like, we're still turning our puzzle pieces. There's still some things that don't fit quite right. And I feel like that is, in a sense, because our entire unit, like, it's not something that's going to get resolved entirely in one lifetime. There'll be things that we can resolve in this one, but it feels like I almost have to live again with them to really get just the right fit with things, if that makes sense. And again, so that's kind of how I feel. I feel there are platonic soulmates, I guess. That is something that rings very true for me. The idea that I could live multiple lives with multiple people and see people again and go, yes, you are important. You are someone that I chose to re-enter this existence with. We linked up energy-wise and said, like, yeah, that's a good thing. We should do this again. This is a good partnership. Let's see what we can explore together life-wise. But on into the romance, because let's be for realsies, there's that, right? There's one person who I've had a very significant relationship with that I would consider kind of like my one real exploration, I would say, into real in-depth romance. It was the person who I thought for a minute was my person. Like, if I were to take on the entirety of a soulmate being your other half, your connection, right? Because there's those ideas to explore. When you talk about the romance side of things, it's the idea that we are of two halves that need to come together to be whole. The idea that you are not complete, that life will not be at its fullest amazingness if you don't find this person, and that everyone has their person. But there's the tales of, you know, man used to be two people that was then split in half by the gods and sent out, and that we're always in search of our other half forever, right? The idea, there's also the concept that a soulmate is actually one soul that was split in half and put into two bodies, and then we're always, again, that search, we're not complete until we come together. That concept I war with because the idea that life would always be lacking or subpar just because you haven't found the right person to live it with, I don't and like, what if your soulmate's going through some shit? Like, what if they're like, I'm sorry, I gotta work through some alcoholism or some other issues I got going on, and like now they're suffering the whole time, so you have to suffer with them. Like, some people, I guess, find that really romantic. I don't. No, I don't want to have to suffer with you or have this. It feels very codependent-y to me, and I just, no. I'm not going to always pick you and always be with you, and if I choose not to be with you, then that doesn't necessarily mean that my life will be less because I chose that. I don't think so. I think free will is there for a very big reason. I think one of the reasons I like the idea of soulmates on platonic level and the idea that I could have met these people is because I think we met up possibly in a past life and we both chose to interact again, to re-enter a life together and say, hey, what's going on? Like, we work well together. We enhance each other's lives. It's a choice. And therefore, I think that choice can also then be changed. We linked up, we connected energetically, and I can detach energetically from you as well. I don't have to suffer through anything that's really not serving me a lot. And that is a concept that I think then goes into the romance side. So as I said before, there was this one particular romance that I felt was I would call my one significant serious relationship. He was very important to me. He was a person I thought I could see myself marrying, partnering up with. We talked a lot about religion, politics, kids. We discussed things. He opened my mind to a lot of my privileges and kind of showed me where I was falling short a lot, which is really great, and it was very good in that sense. But on the other sense, it wasn't. There was a lot of negative self-talk, a lot of judgment, and a lot of other things that just came up that ultimately showed that we were not going to be good together. And ultimately, I fell in love with him, and that sentiment was not returned. And what I find interesting, and one of the reasons why I felt so attached, and I think in a lot of ways I did fall in love, is because there was, again, that feeling of familiarity. There was this feeling of, we have met before. Something feels different about you. It's just, things happened even though there were a lot of ways we didn't think alike and there was no way for me to like figure him out, there were other ways where we did. He was able in a lot of ways to just say, hey, that's explain things to me in a way I never even thought of before. And it was so simple and it clicked so well, and our communication worked like that for a little while until suddenly it didn't, until there were too many walls and impasses that couldn't communicate right. And I think there's a lot of it to do with just confidence on both of our ends, and ultimately just weren't the people to be together. And in that relationship, I experienced a shit ton of deja vu. There was a lot of times where I would be doing something and it wasn't even necessarily the place. It just felt like him standing there, him doing that thing, even if he didn't look like him. Fridge. Like, we've done this before. We've had that romantic pull this way before. This has happened. But ultimately, that concept of a soulmate, where I really thought about, well, what if he is it, right? What if he is my soulmate and we didn't work out? Are we now suffering through this and all that? I had all those thoughts, and that the concept of, well, if you love them, then let them go, and if they come back, then you know they're truly meant for you. And I held on to that for a long time after that relationship, thinking, well, if he really is the person meant for me, if he really is my soulmate, then I'll let him go and he'll come back. Which he never did. Maybe attempts to friendships in a way, but in the romantic sense, that never happened. But what I found most interesting, and what this, I think, relationship really shined a light on, was how I felt when it was really ended. And I think in a lot of ways it kind of scared me. So how we ended up breaking up for a short term, and then it continued on to a toxic nonsense later, and then eventually ended. But the first time we decided to separate is he basically let me know over text message that we really need to discuss some things, and I flat out just asked, like, are we breaking up? Like, I just need to know. Like, just tell me. I don't like this. I don't this in person. I'm not one of those people that's like in person, whatever. Like, I just want the information as fast as I can get it, and we'll deal with it later. Beyond that. And I remember when he said, I don't know, and it felt like there was this tear of energy. Like, it felt like there was a pit in the middle of my soul. Like, like, you know when you like you those anxious feelings, or you feel like something's off or wrong, and it feels like there's like a black pit in the middle of your stomach. This felt like that, but in my heart, like, it just felt like this black hole kind of opened up, and I didn't really know what to do with that. It felt all-consuming, like it was just gonna grow and kind of take me over. When we actually met up and spoke, and I realized, oh, he is ending this. He's saying he hasn't seen a connection, even though I do. I feel like we can fight for this. We can do the things. He's like, no, I don't feel that. It's not there to whatever. And I remember just feeling that pit getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And when he left, I just kind of broke down crying. And my first thought, and something that I actually like cried out, was, where are you? Which is a very weird thing. Like, where are you? Like, he just left. That's where he is. He left. And I realized it's because those words weren't directed at him, that I was directing them at somebody else, that I was suddenly very angry, that I was feeling this pit, this disconnection of energy, this feeling of something missing. And I was mad because I had to go through it, and maybe there was a reason I didn't have to. Maybe if someone else had come around sooner, I wouldn't have had to. And I was mad because it felt like someone was late. It's a very weird feeling to feel. Like, what do you mean late? Who's late? What's going on? And that was probably the first time where I understood what my mom meant by, I feel like someone's missing. I feel like there's a very specific someone who hasn't come in contact yet. And in my head I was like, oh, I'm mad because I thought that my guy was this person. At the same time, I wasn't. And this is where this whole like soul connections choosing thing, I think, really, for me, kind of cemented my possible ideas on it. My boyfriend at the time, now ex. Yes, Kitty, you're my soulmate. I think so. I do. I think that there was a soul connection with him. that we had lived and done possibly romantic relationships before, and I think it was there, and I think I severed it. And that pit moment was, I know some people talk about karmic relationships, how you kind of can't come back until something's resolved, and I think the severing of that energy, that pit, was a severance of a connection. It was him saying, I don't think this is serving us anymore. It's done. I think in some ways I felt the partnership should very much continue in any way, shape, or form. And I think Camper died, so the lighting might be different, but we might just cut this. We shall see. Anyway, so as I was saying, kitty. When it comes to that reaction that I had with "you're not here," it was very interesting to me, and it always made me go, oh, well, is it just because I was hoping he would be my person, the person I go through this life with? I want that in my life, you know, a romantic partner or something that I could have on a journey through life. I want to get married and have kids. It's an aspiration of mine. Is that just what that is? Or is it something more? And in the back of my head, it always seems to be this something more thing. Like, and this is where it gets weird, because on one hand, I think, yeah, I don't need a soulmate or a twin flame, which we'll get to some of my thoughts on that one in a second. I am very much content by myself, and in fact the most content that I've normally been has been a person who has a strong couple of friends, and I seem to operate very well in life. I'm very productive, I'm getting things accomplished, but I have always kind of wanted a partner to add to that equation. And just because they're a partner in a romantic sense, that doesn't necessarily mean they have to be a soulmate, or the concept of me having a piece of me that's separate of me. Like, that doesn't feel right. It feels like that's, like, I'm a complete and whole person. The idea that I would have another half, or that, if anything, it feels like a very strong partnership, that bond, right? That link is something that maybe in a past life I didn't make. But if it wasn't there, doesn't mean I'm incomplete without it. It doesn't mean my life would be any less fulfilling without it. It feels more of like, okay, well, it's not there right now, but if I ever met someone and I wanted to make that type of soul connection and link with them, and of course, obviously, if it was mutual, then we would do that. Like, that's a thing that I would, you know, maybe I don't need it, but if I want it, it's an option that's available for me. But on the other side of things, I don't know, there's certain times where intuition picks up, right? And there's like a thing that you know in the back of your head, and it's like deep down in here. Like, I don't know, like sometimes it's like it's the way that I know that I need a spirituality and to explore the weird unknown shit. Like, it's the way in that I know that I'm a witch. It's just there. It's like that weird thing that has niggled at you for gosh knows how long in your life. Like that feeling, you know, when that intuition kicks up and screams at you a little bit, like, hey, this is a very important aspect to your life. When I think of a partner, a connection, a person that would come into my life and fit extremely well, maybe someone I've known for a very, very long time, many lifetimes back, and that irritation that I kind of feel when I, like, you know, when you have that really good friend or that partner, and you kind of rag on each other a bit, and they drive you crazy because they push you to be a better person, and they kind of push your patience a little while also building you up, and you know, they keep life entertaining. That's the type of feelings that come up when I really think soulmate. That intuition when I hear that word, or even like the concept of the twin flame, I think was something that many different people talk about different things, right? Some people say it's very similar to a soulmate. It's just that, like, or it's not even romantic in that soulmate sense. It could be something more platonic, or, you know, something that's supposed to, like, it's just like the twin flame is the idea that it drives you to your full potential, to your true purpose, your life's purpose. Like, you two coming together is something that is going to create and pave the way and, you know, push the world itself and your souls forward type of deal. And that I like a lot. And that seems, in the same way of liking it, I don't know, you know, you can like something, but sometimes it doesn't necessarily ring like yes. So like the phrase twin flame doesn't ring yes to me. It doesn't go like 100%, oh yeah, that's a thing. So that just like lights me up inside in some way. But the concept of there being a person that you line up with, you find this partner that you link up with, and you two together seem to get shit done you never freaking thought. like, yeah, I'm all for that one. That sounds right. And it also, like, it feels like, of course I know that. Like, of course there's someone out there. And it's like, I know that. Like, I have that thing because I've met someone like that previously, because it hasn't happened in this life at all. But, and so maybe there is someone out there. Maybe I have made that pact already. Maybe there is this link that I feel, that missing I described earlier, that my mother also mentioned, is because I know they're here. I just haven't met them yet. Or it's the same way when I got upset because my thing fell apart and I said, where are you? Like, why would I say that? Why is that the thing that I would go to? Instead of just being mad at that relationship, I was mad at something else. I was upset and broken, and I was really upset that that relationship fell apart and I didn't have this person in my life anymore. But that felt more of like a severing to make way for something else, and I was kind of like mad that I even had to go through it. I was mad. It felt like someone was making me go through and, like, you know, finish up some projects. Like, you know, when you're like, you have a deadline, you have to do it, you have to do the freaking thing. You're like, I don't fucking want to. I want to do that. Stop bothering. No. Like, it was just a very tumultuous thing to go through in that relationship, to then to end it and be like, oh, I didn't find what I was looking for. But it felt very conclusive. It felt very much like, hey, you needed to sever this for a reason. This needed to end in that pit in my stomach and in my chest. Just, it needed to be there to make room. And I wonder if that making room is for that soulmate connection. I've had many a dream, which have been weird, of meeting, you know, you meet thing, you're like, you seem familiar, but not quite, like, I don't know, because supposedly, psychology was, maybe, you dream things and it's pulling on different parts of your subconscious, things you've seen before, met before, and then you just don't remember it and your brain pulls it up, right? And I almost wonder if that is a concept. It's like we can never see anything in our dreams that we haven't experienced before, or things we're not tapped into. Because I think our dreams are very palpable and sacred. I think there is a connection to something, whether it's to the other dimensions or to dreams don't feel like just like, oh, it's our brain trying to stuff things out. To me, it feels more of like it's our gateway to other things, right? Gateway to what? Who knows? And there are definitely times where I feel like I encounter the same thing sometimes in my dreams over and over and over again. Sometimes it feels like a deity, like a crocodile or Persephone, or Loki pops in every once in a while, but not so much. And then there's other times where it's like, no, I feel like that's a person. I feel like I'm talking to you. I feel like someone's reaching out. I've had very interesting dreams about me being very, very older and there being a child bothering me all the time. And I feel like very specifically there's like one, maybe two, where they're very pokey. And they're very much like, mama, get it going. We want to come into the world. And it's like, maybe. Chill. And they always mention, I don't know, in the dreams, like, they always seem to mention somebody else. And I always said there's this kind of this voice, that peaks up, and the voice is calling the kids, and they run, and like that's always seemed how those dreams seem to end, and like that voice seems so freaking familiar. And in some respects, when I was younger, I used to like listen for that voice. Like every time someone would talk, I would like think, I'm like, no, it's not it. No, it's like I was almost like in search of that sound for a long time. And for a while I thought like, well, maybe that is my soulmate. Maybe that is the person that I already made this bond with, this individual that is supposed to partner up with me because we made a deal a long time ago that we're gonna make some awesome shit happen here. Like, I just haven't found him yet, but he's letting me know we're here, it's okay, like I got them for now, like watch it, you know what I mean? But then I go back and I go, maybe that's all just made up in my head. Maybe each life isn't about that. Maybe I'm craving that connection. Like maybe my soul is ready to make that level of a soulmate, romantic level of a connection to somebody, to be like, hey, if I meet you now in the next lives, this is not just me taking vows and doing this for this life, it's for the next life and the next life and the next life. Like that's what I'm ready for. Like maybe I've been alone in other lives previous to this enough times that I now feel a partnership is necessary. There's so many different ideas that I think about it with, because that intuition, that knowing, that pull that I have in a lot of ways, it's very, very interesting when I think about romance and craving that type of thing. And also being extremely picky, as some would say. Like, there's some things that just, sometimes I just talk with people and want to dates with or whatever else, and something's missing, something's wrong. I don't know what it is even. It's like, I'm sorry, but we've gone on so many dates, and it's just like, you're not it. You're not making that thing go, that little, you know, that spark come alive at all. You don't entertain me or intrigue me in that way. And it's funny how, like, I remember having crushes, and then those crushes eventually leading up to the only one relationship I've had, and I remember being very, like, it almost felt like reminded of something. Like, it almost felt like the entire world would, like, you know, you get in that mode and the world seems to, like, saturate with color, that you can hyper focus on things, and it feels like a little more of just a little more sparky. Like, you can just, you're taking in just a little bit more of the world easier when you're in that mode. And of course you're hyper focused on the person, so you take in a lot about them. But that feeling I find interesting when applied to arts and magic and the city I love, because I've definitely had similar feelings in that sense. I've come alive with that, like that saturation I felt when I was in love. It bled over into so many things. And so when I think of that, and I think, well, then maybe, you know, we are a communal species. There's a reason why you don't want to be codependent with someone, but there's a reason why we get so much done together. There's a reason we go in groups and have families and societies, and we all work together, is because human beings work better together. If we were all by ourselves, really isolated, truly, maybe we wouldn't get as much done. So why wouldn't our souls do that too? Why wouldn't, if we are living multiple lives over and over again, why wouldn't we continue to do that in a group setting? Why wouldn't we continue to latch on to a bunch of people and create a partnership, a bond in that? And honestly, like, being vulnerable and all that is the more I think about this stuff, the more I think there is a soulmate out there in a romantic sense. For me, I think there's someone that I made a bond with a very long time ago. So many lives, realities, dimensions. Someone who I've gone through a lot of shit with. And I'm just waiting for them, for our paths to finally cross. And who knows, maybe we decided that we both had to be at certain points in our lives so we could move forward effectively. Maybe we're both just winging it and seeing when we find each other. Maybe they're currently hunting me down because I keep bopping cities. Who the hell knows? But that partnership, that bond, that idea that there's someone there who's going to light me up and help me hyper focus and saturate and be my teammate, my partner, not to complete me, but just to make everything just a little bit more fun. I really like that idea, and that rings really, really true in the intuition-y sense. So I know it's very rambly, weird exploration of the words soulmate. More so, I dabbled a little bit in the twin flame thing, but I've only looked into that very little. So again, there's some concepts that I know. If you know more about any of the twin flame concepts, comment down below. Yes, no, maybe so. Do you guys like the idea of soulmates? Are they something that you think that if people think about it too much, it becomes very toxic sounding? Like, you know, the whole codependency, there's only one person out there for you type of deal. Does that freak you out? And I know there's a whole bunch of other stuff that comes up with stuff like karmic relationships or bonds and all of that, and a whole bunch of other stuff where I'm just like, oh, that's even more stuff to look into. I'll do that someday when I get to it. But anyway, I'm making videos every single week. I'll see you guys next time.